All right, so welcome, Eric. Yeah, tell us about Street Sense Media and how you came up with the idea to have news organizations bring attention to homelessness in the city. I like to refer to it as the face of homelessness. And our readers may not know that we partnered with you over the last several years for your news blitz, which I believe was October 7th. Can you just give us a little more information about the project?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin, and it's an honor to be with you. As far as Street Sense Media goes, we are what's called a street paper, and we were founded in the district in 2003, so we've been publishing for a while now. And at the core of that model is economic empowerment. So the way we work is that more than 100 people that sell our newspaper buy papers from us at a retail price, 50 cents, and sell those papers around the city. Um, Buy it for a wholesale price and sell it at retail for $2, suggested donation, and plus any tip. And so all of our vendors are working as self-employed contractors around the city, running their own business, keeping all of the income that they earn through that. And it's a no barrier economic opportunity. We offer trainings at our headquarters at 1317 G Street twice a week, 2 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursdays. And if you complete that, 2-hour orientation, you're equipped with a temporary badge and a stack of free papers to give it a try. And if our model works for you, you can come back and reinvest, and there's some more training and whatnot to become a permanent vendor. And so there's 40 other papers like us in the US and 100 globally. But that's what's at the heart of how we work. And through that, we publish our paper to focus entirely on poverty in the district with news, opinion, and art on the subject. And so I stepped into this model 10 years ago. It was sort of already a DC institution at that point. But throughout my tenure, was looking to try and expand the focus that we care a whole lot about and encourage other media outlets to do more. And it's not that no one is covering homelessness or poverty, but at the same time, we see throughout the years that it becomes more and more normalized and accepted in an uncomfortable way. And I mean, we're talking about even decades here, but especially in recent years. And so we've been trying to, through the News Blitz project, recruit as many partner outlets like you all have been to all report about homelessness on the same day. So we report ahead of time, but publish all together so that no matter where a person gets their news, they're probably going to see at least one story from the project because we're publishing
Right.
through so many different outlets. And then every story includes a little note about the project and where to go to learn more. And that address is dchomelesscrisis.press. But through that, we just hope to bring more awareness to as many folks as possible.
So let me ask you a couple of other quick questions. One, I understand that now the news blitz is over, and you have the online stories being published. People are reading them. I mean, how effective has it been? And where do you go from here?
So I have a couple quick numbers to give you as far as efficacy, and that's mostly of volume. So this year, we published a total of 23 stories, including yours from the Informer. And that was across 15 different partner outlets. That's the most we've ever worked with before in a single year. And this was our 6th year. So that plus the previous 5 years, we've published a total of 142 stories with 42 different newsrooms. And so we know that we've been putting out a lot of content. And the whole point of how we organize and coordinate on the front end is that we commit to each other to not duplicate work. So we get a pretty detailed and nuanced collection of stories. So in doing that, I think we've done a really great job of putting together a sort of in-depth snapshot of homelessness in the district, and we've seen how it evolves over time. Beyond that, I can't necessarily speak to the efficacy yet, but this year we were also grateful to partner with a class at Georgetown University, and they're in the process of doing an independent analysis of the work. They're monitoring everything on October 7th, and they've read everything we've ever done. So we expect a report at the end of this year to tell us how we're doing and where maybe we could do better.
So Eric, I want our readers to understand that the website and the collection of stories. Last year we wrote for you. This year I wrote a piece on homelessness, and I have never looked at the website. I've just participated as a journalist. But I want our readers to understand and listeners today. There are some quite quite powerful and moving stories. And I don't know people. We look at you look at San Francisco or even here Union Station. The train station has almost become a tent city. And I look at the people, but I don't look at them. And I think a lot of people sometimes fall into their trap that they almost become silhouettes, invisible people. How do we bring life to them? Because that really concerns me. How do we bring life to these people? Because they're living people in a struggle.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing, that's one of the core tenets of our coverage here, and I've seen this in Urals as well, is talking to those folks and amplifying those voices that often will go unheard. Yeah, I think the most powerful way to connect with people is to show what someone's day to day is, because a
Right.
reader knows their own day to day, and so once they see
Certainly.
what someone else is like, they can make that comparison and judgment themselves. Where we try and add on to that a bit is to try and be careful not to just have like a single character or representative, if you will, in a story,
Mhm.
because no one's experience it speaks for everybody, right? So we try and talk to a number of folks with lived experience. And
So, but I want to ask you to help us remain informed of what other projects are coming up in the future, where we may want to go in terms of accessing information. But in terms of your previous statement, I remember having an assignment in Chicago. I did a 12-hour stint as a homeless person. I drove the trains, and I'll tell you, as you were saying, little things like I need to go to the bathroom now. I like some water. It's 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock Jeopardy time. Well, I'm homeless. There's no television, and now I'm getting hungry. But how do I eat? Or the food I have is cold, or I'm cold, and all I could do was look at my watch and say, I got 10 more hours, I got 9 more hours. But for some people, as you know, and what those numbers look like collectively in the DC area, every moment is a homeless moment, and those simple things we take for granted, they don't have access to.
absolutely. And that was made exponentially harder with COVID. There were so many independent things that folks would use as a safety net. There's a lot of holes in what we provide as a city and government. And so, libraries were a de facto day center for many people. Starbucks was a de facto public restroom for many people. And when everything shut down during COVID, it became very, exponentially more difficult. It was already a crisis for any
Sure.
individual going through it. It became exponentially more difficult to be homeless. And you mentioned numbers. I think it's important for anyone that's really thinking about this issue to realize there's an annual count that the media and the government cites, and Street Sense as well, that tracks how many people are homeless each year. This year's number was 5,111 people, and that's gone down by a couple thousand in recent years. So that's an encouraging sign. But as you know, as a longtime journalist, numbers don't speak to everything, and can hide or show different things depending on how you look at
Certainly.
them. And the definition of homelessness automatically leaves out anyone who's couch surfing, staying with friends, family, in any sort of precarious situation, but not quite on the street or in a shelter. And that snapshot, as the government readily admits, is only a look at a single night in January each year. And I don't have numbers locally, but at the federal level, they do a second count, and it just pulls from shelter data. So it doesn't include anyone in tents or couch surfing or anything else, like I mentioned. But at that figure, the one night count is about 500,000 people every year. And the shelter count for a full year, again, excluding a lot of people already, is 1.5 million. So it's 3 times as many people struggling. So as much as we're sort of moving in the right direction, the scope of how much work still needs to be done is massive. And as the previous guest mentioned, it's a huge racial justice and economic justice issue when it comes to homelessness in DC as
Right.
well. But that local count, just that single night count, the demographics, 86% of everyone who is experiencing homelessness that we know of in DC identifies as Black or African American. And then when the video that was shown earlier identified families as the sort of hidden homeless. If you look at just families, that number
Sure.
escalates to
Right.
96%. And so, and as we all know, that the census this year showed that Chocolate City now identifies at 41% Black and African American. So as we see the systemic racism and injustices that are pushing
Right.
people out of the city, we also see who is pushed into homelessness that is still here.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Just so much information, and again, we hear these numbers, but remember, 5,111, whatever the number is, one homeless person is one too many. 5,111 or 5,111 too many. So we're gonna keep on our work. Keep on speaking for those who have no voice. We appreciate you being here with us on the Watching Farmers Win TV, and continue to let us know how we can be of assistance.
Thank you so much for having me and for your partnership. It's an honor.
Thank you. All right. Have a blessed day.